So, you bought some yarn and want to knit a hat, or shawl, or sweater. Voila! If it were only that easy. Well, it is easy. It's not rocket science. But there are a few things you need to do to get there. And first on the list is wind your yarn. Maybe. You see, yarn comes in different shapes. Skein, which you might have heard of, donut, cone, cake. Why am I suddenly so hungry? Ew! Reminder, don't eat your yarn donut. Now, where were we? Ball and hank. If you've purchased a skein, donut, cone, cake, or ball, you can just find the end and start knitting. On a cone and a ball, the end is on the outside. On the other shapes, a skein, a donut, and a cake, you can use the yarn end on the outside or the inside. The outside end might be hidden under the label or tucked into the center. To find the inside end, you reach into the center and pull a few strands out like this, and then start knitting. But what if you purchased a hank? A what? Yes, a hank. Hanks come twisted, folded, or open. Many yarn producers and dyers sell their yarn in hanks rather than winding it into another shape. But unfortunately, you can't really knit straight from a hank. Well, actually you can, but it's very frustrating. And unless you finish your project in one sitting, which is highly unlikely, you won't be able to throw your hank into a bag or basket to work on later, because it will just become a tangled mess. So if you purchased yarn in the hank shape, you have to wind it first, and there are a few ways to do that. The simplest and oldest method is hand winding, and for this method, you need something or someone to hold your hank. That can be a friend or family member with a lot of patience, or a chair, your knees, or even the floor. First, you open up your hank, neaten it up like this, place it on your perfect hank holder, untie or cut the yarns that hold it together, find the end, and start winding. Begin by holding one end and start wrapping it around two of your fingers. When you have a good amount, then remove it from your fingers and start winding it in the center of the loops you already wound. After you have about the same amount there, start rotating it to create a ball. And eventually, you will have wound the entire hank and you're ready to knit. However, there are some gadgets that make winding your yarn even easier. Let me introduce you to the Swift and the yarn winder. Let's start with the Swift, which is the perfect place to put your yarn for easier winding. First, you attach it to a table, raise the Swift, neaten your hank, gently place your hank around the Swift, find the yarn end, and start winding. But the final gadget that will make your life even easier is a yarn winder. Just like the Swift, you first attach it to a table, locate a yarn end, wind it through the feeding arm, place it in the slit at the top of the bobbin, and start winding. Continue winding, and winding, and winding, and winding, and winding, and winding, until your entire hank is wound into a ball. Yes, this video is titled How to Wind a Ball of Yarn, but a yarn winder actually winds the yarn into a cake. Sorry to mislead you, but a yarn winder is so much faster. In mere minutes from start to finish, and after winding the outside end around the cake and tucking it in, you're ready to find a yarn end and start knitting. And once you've finished knitting your first project, you're ready to shop for your next. I hope this helps. Happy knitting!